Hello, I'm Josh, one of the members of Weirdcards Charitable Club, and today I'm going to tell you about my Oathbreaker deck, Lord Windgrace. Lord Windgrace is a black, green, red Planeswalker with abilities that relate to lands as well as lands in your graveyard. My main strategy for my deck is to play lots of lands and have lots of landfall triggers that eventually remove my opponents from the game. My signature spell that I use for my Oathbreaker is Treasured Find. Treasured Find allows me to grab any card from my graveyard and put it back into my hand. This allows me to reuse cards from my graveyard often and allow me to use a whole bunch of different types of strategies to get me to the win. One of my primary win conditions is Ob Nixilis the Fallen, who has landfall triggers that make my opponents lose life, or Avenger of Zendikar, which gives me an army. I also use Grave Betrayal, which is a card that allows me to steal my opponent's creatures when they die. I have that in the deck because I have a whole bunch of cards in the deck that remove my opponent's creatures are destroyed and put to the graveyard. I play cards like Damnation, Crux of Fate, Blasphemous Act, and Oblivion Stone. I also play lots of cards that allow me to play multiple lands per turn. Cards like Exploration, Gira Per Orrery, Ramanap Excavator, which allows me to play lands from my graveyard, and Azusa Lost But Seeking. All of these cards allow me to play lands faster and play them from anywhere I need to. I also play Life from the Loam, which allows me to get lands out of my deck faster, and Constant Mists, which is a card that allows me to stop combat damage from occurring, and I can sacrifice a land to return it to my hand. When I can get lands back from my graveyard often, this isn't a problem for me, so I make it very hard for my opponents to get rid of me. I also have one copy of Elixir of Immortality in the deck, so that if I get to a pinch where I need to reuse cards from my deck, I can still reshuffle them back into my deck and start over from scratch. I have a variety of different types of lands in my deck that do a lot of different jobs. I have 4 copies of Fetchlands that can search for swamps, forests, and mountains out of my deck. I play lands that can cycle, that allow me to draw cards out of my library and allow me to have more lands in my graveyard. I also play a few check lands that just come into play untapped, and some basics. And then the fetch lands also are there to find dual lands such as Overgrown Tomb, Silverglade, and Stomping Grounds. These cards allow me to have a better mana base and have better access to all the colors I need to play the deck. Some of the utility lands that I play are Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, that allows all of my lands to be swamps, Bojuka Bog, which allows me to remove my opponent's graveyards, Spawning Pool, which allows me to have a blocker on a land, and Glacial Chasm, which prevents my opponents from dealing damage to me, and because of the fact that I can bring it back from the graveyard in a variety of ways, it makes it very hard for them to get rid of me. With all of these strategies, my main goal today is to remove all of my opponents with life loss triggers from landfall triggers and just make my opponent's board clear.